join a company called Sprout Social in 2011 as the first marketer. Ended up being there for 8.5 years, helped the company grow to 100 million, leading all things acquisition and IPO. And then
So how do you ensure, that kind of it stays aligned to help the company scale?
100% of revenue came from inbound marketing. We avoid traffic for the sake of traffic. We don't want to just find stuff that has the most search volume and go after that to try to juice up the numbers or do anything that's temporary or artificial. We want to bring the right people to a business that have the best chance of converting.
Nate Turner is the co-founder and CEO of TenSpeed, a content marketing agency working with top B2B SaaS brands. Before that, he was the first marketer at Sprout Social, helping the company grow all the way to $100 million in ARR. In this episode, he shares hard-earned lessons on scaling, content, and staying ahead in the AI era.
What is the best use of AI that you're making when it comes to content creation?
If you have multiple products, like which ones convert the best and which personas, what pain points are they solving, which things are most profitable, like as deep as we can get into the business level of what really matters.
For our young listeners today who are trying to make a mark, kind of starting out on their entrepreneurial journey, what is the piece of advice you'd want to give to them?
Yeah, I would say that's
E-coffee with experts.
Hey, Nate, how's it going?
great. Good to see you, and thanks for having me.
Lovely. Nate, before we move any forward, let's get to know the human behind the mic. Why don't you talk us through your journey a bit and also about your agency? What do you guys, kind of offer? What are your core specialities? And we'll take it from there.
Yeah, so I kind of got started in the digital world around 2008, starting with SEO, and then kind of branched out into more areas throughout there. Spent some time at an agency, then was fortunate to join a company called Sprout Social in 2011 as the first marketer. Ended up being there for 8.5 years, helped the company grow to 100 million, leading all things acquisition and IPO. And then from there, I stepped away consulting with a number of SaaS companies, which was a really great experience to kind of get to work with a number of companies and see kind of some common challenges. And from that, we had the idea to start TenSpeed. So I co-founded TenSpeed in 2020, which is our marketing agency. So we primarily work in B2B, heavily in SaaS industry, and we cover a wide range of content marketing services, SEO, and now GEO as well, and some organic social and email marketing. So a lot of fun working with a number of clients, and we're a fully remote agency, and excited to chat more today.
Lovely. And, starting your own agency in 2020, not the best of times. So, what are the challenges that you and your, kind of first set of people, the first team kind of went through, and how did you guys overcome it?
Yeah. We started it in the middle of the pandemic, and so we thought we'll start it now, and it'll get easier from here. But then we kind of saw the end of the ZERP era, in the U.S., and then so that kind of changed a lot of the funding dynamics for companies, and then there was sort of a little bit of a SaaS mini recession in 2022. So and then obviously like AI has picked up and changed a lot of things for the industry in the last couple of years. So it's been a very interesting 5 years. But I think very early on, it was certainly some work and did a lot of recruiting to find, our first full-time employees outside of my co-founder and I, and people that were willing to kind of take the leap, and certainly different when you're fully remote as well to have, first couple of employees join, but you don't have kind of in-office camaraderie and stuff. So building early team, early culture, was certainly something that we had to kind of really work at. And then obviously, some of the other challenges I just listed throughout the 5 years have been things to kind of overcome for sure.
Absolutely. And talking about challenges, kind of working with a remote team, scaling it up, handling clients. And clearly you have kind of now, kind of are quite more stable than what it was early on.
Sure.
And obviously you guys have grown, right? So what is the mantra, behind handling a remote team and really kind of making it work?
Yeah, so I think, we certainly rely a lot on Slack for elements of culture and kind of like, knowing what people did over the weekend and, things they're interested in, or pets or kids, or, all kinds of stuff that people do in their life to know each other, as humans. And so that's a big part of it. And then we've been committed to like every 6 months, we get together somewhere, kind of fly everybody in and get together and have a couple days in person. We found that that's a really positive, it's not once a year. That'd be a long time to kind of wait. But it's also not, monthly or quarterly or anything that's too exhaustive of a travel schedule. it's been a really good cadence. It's been really, everyone kind of comes away fired up and recharged and, just knowing each other better and, having
Hmm.
had some fun together and stuff too. So those are probably the two biggest things we really, really focus on to try to stay on top of it.
Lovely, lovely. And then you also kind of spoke about Sprout Social, which is one of the biggest marketing success stories. I mean, 100 million ARR is no mean feat.
Hmm.
Talk us through, kind of what made it work. I mean, I would not really go into SEO content, overall, what worked, Nate? What was the thing that you feel like really clicked?
Yeah. So just generally for the company, not so much just marketing tactics. Is that what you mean?
Let's kind of, make it a mix of both, yeah, from a
Mixed. Yeah.
company perspective, also from
Yeah.
marketing perspective, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, like timing is always big. So when the company was founded and just kind of the early days of social, and what attracted me to it at the time was, they really kind of came out as, hey, we're social for business. And at the time, you had Hootsuite and some of those tools that were all just consumer tools that businesses were using, but they weren't built for business. And so, that certainly changed that whole, it's an entire industry, a multi-billion dollar industry. And so timing was certainly big on a company level. Brand, I think there was always a really big design forward consciousness around the brand overall. And that's just huge for marketing, huge for the company, just gives you a lot of tailwinds for anything you're doing, paid search or any other marketing efforts. And then I think just generally, within marketing, what we built, and then also throughout the company, it was just a good culture of like iterating, always kind of be testing and figuring out what's the next thing and how do we keep working on this? How do we keep scaling it? And that just really persisted through a lot of different phases, like if we kept doing what we're doing, we probably would have stalled out at 7 or 8 million, being able to kind of see, hey, this is a new area. We need to start building out this entire function or this team, or now we need to, build out channel sales or outbound sales or, different things that just ultimately kind of fuel revenue growth beyond just, like I said, paid search or SEO content or something like that. So I think that overall, like that kind of, I think you used the word mantra earlier, like just testing, figuring out, like building, iterating is all a big piece of it, and just over and over, month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year.
Lovely, lovely. And, keeping marketing and sales intact in itself is a challenge, right? So how do you
Mm.
ensure, that kind of it stays aligned to help the company scale?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always a lot of different iterations. We were heavily marketing led. Forever, like 100% of revenue came from inbound marketing.
Hmm.
And then, as we started to grow, there started to be a bit more that was being sales sourced, and there was, growth of existing accounts. You know, for me and in my role, I personally always wanted to just be heavily involved in the sales side, communicating as much as possible, giving as much data as possible, knowing that like we were the overwhelming majority of what was coming into the sales team and what they had available to sell. And so just being proactive versus feeling like, well, we did our job and we threw the leads over the fence and it's their job to close them. It's like, let's deeply understand what's working, what's not, what's happening in conversations. The last couple of years that I was there, the tools like Gong became available, and that was huge at that time to really be able to, because our sales team became much larger at that time too, being able to dig into all those calls and hear customers talk, the way they talk about things and the pain points they have and all that stuff, just continue to kind of fuel marketing, understanding what sales is going through and how we can proactively fix some of that upstream, things like that.
Absolutely. And moving on, you guys must be doing a lot of content for your clients, right? So how do you,
Hmm.
kind of identify or let's say prioritize content themes that resonate with your target audience and also kind of ensure that it converts because that is what the end client is looking for at all times, right?
Yep.
I understand. I mean, good content, SEO, from a marketing standpoint, but the client wants their phone's ringing, right? So how do you kind of mix it both?
Yeah. So yeah, we do a lot up front as well as, along the way of really trying to understand and have deep alignment with our clients like core target audience. Who do they really want? Who pays them? And like as much data as they have available is positive for us. Like, if you have multiple products, like which ones convert the best and with which personas, what pain points are they solving, which things are most profitable, like as deep as we can get into that business level of what really matters, then understanding, hey, that's who it is. Now we're going to go try to figure out, what do they care about? Where do they spend time? What are they trying to do or improve or solve? And building from there. And so it's definitely, we always say, we avoid traffic for the sake of traffic. We don't want to just find stuff that has the most search volume and go after that to try to, juice up the numbers or do anything that's temporary or artificial. We want to bring the right people to a business that have the best chance of converting. And then obviously working with our team, working through, CTAs and the data to better understand, okay, we're bringing the right people, how do we better understand how to convert them more than they already are? So that's a really, really foundational part of it that starts at the beginning and then continues throughout.
Absolutely. And since we're talking about content, what is the best use of AI that you're making when it comes to content creation?
Yeah, I mean, it's first of all, I'd say it's just constantly changing. So, initially we did a lot where we're already doing deep research and building detailed outlines with prompts for writers. And so, one of the obvious ways was, in collaboration with the client, if they wanted to, we could feed those prompts into AI rather than giving the prompts to a writer and, kind of section by section, get some pretty good content to then kind of pull together and do that. There's a lot of things too, like it's just great for, like, if anyone's ever done any sort of content creation or title tag creation at scale, like you can kind of find yourself in ruts on the syntax or patterns that you do for paid search headlines or whatever it might be, like so just like ideating and being able to kind of like refine a lot of that, super helpful. Schema stuff, and just like anything around there can be really helpful as well. So yeah, I think there's a lot of ways that it comes through. We're certainly not just, I think we're all kind of past the point of just saying, hey, write a 1,200 word post on this topic. Yes, the AI can do it, but like that's not really getting a good result. I think there's some pretty deeply integrated knowledge and strategy with the AI to get good results and good formatting. I mean, I think another one is like repurposing, is a really big, like getting a transcript from a video and then, be able to turn that into social content or, different things like that can be very powerful as well.
Absolutely. I mean, good pointers there, Nate. And if I were to ask you, let's say, I mean, what is your go-to tool when it comes to, I mean, all the AI storm that we are in?
I mean, kind of varies. Like,
Anything,
I
yeah.
think like Opus Clip is really solid for anything on like the video side. And, breaking stuff up, generating clips, kind of understanding the sentiment behind things. I mean, outside of that, I mean, I think like ChatGPT and Claude both are highly capable, and we've built custom GPTs around things, and we've built our own tool on like understanding performance within AI, like within the LLMs and like LLM bot traffic to sites and stuff like that too. So we have a little bit of our own tools as well, but that's the majority of it so far.
Absolutely. And talking about your agency TenSpeed, why SaaS, as a niche? I mean, what was the reason behind choosing it? Did it come naturally or was it a strategic decision?
I would say it was more of a natural thing. So my co-founder Kevin worked with me Sprout Social for a long time. And then he was VP of marketing at Review Trackers, which is another SaaS company. We just generally had a lot of connections in the space and, more credibility for sure with our experiences. And so a lot of our early referrals to companies were from VCs or from former coworkers that became VPs of marketing somewhere else, or, those types of things that we just had a heavy network density in that category that really caused that to be kind of the number one area between our experience and the network.
Absolutely. All right. This has been a really great conversation, Nate. But before we let you go, I would like to play a quick rapid fire with you.
Sure. Sounds good.
All right. Let's do this. Your last Google search.
My last Google search. We're migrating to ClickUp right now. So I think it probably was something related to the setup and functionality around that.
All right. Where do we find you on Friday evenings after work?
I'd say most of the time, I mean, now that we're on, kids are on summer break, it's a little different. During school year, Fridays, we try to kind of all just kick back and relax and maybe order pizza or something. So most of the time home, living room or the backyard or something, hanging out. We try
Nice.
to chill on Friday evenings.
Nice. All right. Your favorite sport?
I'd say baseball.
Okay. What did you do with the first paycheck net? First paycheck of your life?
I bought a BMX bike.
Okay. First luxury buy?
Luxury buy. I mean, I guess at the time, my first MacBook would probably felt like a luxury.
Come
So
on.
I'd
I
say
thought
that's
you'll
probably,
flex it
yeah.
now.
What's that?
I thought you'll flex it now.
Oh yeah. No. No. Yeah, I mean, my first house, I guess, I think kind of depends on the definition of luxury, but yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. I would have said the same, house, depending on,
Yeah.
your definition of luxury, like you said,
Yeah.
kind of having your own house is a luxury, come to think of it, right?
hmm
So, all right, the last one, and it's optional, your celebrity crush.
I can't say that I would have one, off the top of my head, but
Don't worry, you have been a Spotnet. Thank you so much for taking out time to do this with us. And before we wrap this up, one piece of advice, Nate, from your end, because clearly, you have made it big in this space. For our young listeners today who are trying to make a mark, kind of starting out on their entrepreneurial journey, what is that piece of advice you'd want to give to them?
I mean, I think the main thing would just be like the process, like the journey, like that is the reward, like if you kind of fall in love with things changing and the process of building and the process of solving problems, like that's kind of what it always is. Things are always evolving, and so enjoying that it makes it a very enjoyable and rewarding thing versus feeling like you just want to solve a problem and then everything gets easier or whatever, because that's going to be pretty draining if you're kind of always looking for it to get easier. But yeah, I would say that's probably the biggest thing is just kind of enjoy the process and solving problems and figuring things out.
Lovely. Thank you once again, Nate. This has been a great conversation, could not have had,
Yeah,
in terms of sharing so many insights. And for audiences, if they want to reach out to you, how would they do that?
I'd say TenSpeed, you could find us at tenspeed.io. And personally, Nate Turner number one, I think is my username on the LinkedIn URL. So look me up on LinkedIn, that'd be the easiest way.
Lovely. Thanks again, Nate. Cheers.
Yeah, thank you.